Welcome to Papa Nick's Music. I am, as always, your host, Papa Nick Lewis. And today we're doing something completely different.
And now for something completely different.
No, not that. Um, when I first started doing these discussion videos, my very first one, I was ranking the Beach Boys albums. And I said in the opener to that I uh, was mostly going to focus on music. It's the name of the channel, Papa Nick's Music, for God's sake. But that I wanted to leave open the possibility that I could do other things, that I could talk about other things. For Halloween, for example, I gave you a suggestion for 10 good scary movies that you could add to your seasonal playlist. And if it is true that music is the primary lens through which I see my life, and good argument for that, running at a close second place is comedy. I'm a huge fan of comedy. I cannot imagine any situation in life that is not automatically and immediately made better by a good laugh, up to and including funerals. So, Fridays are still going to be the days when I release my latest discussion of whatever my latest musical idea is, obsession, whatever you want to call it. But on occasional Wednesdays, I'm going to release similar discussions about comedy. And we are kicking it off with Taskmaster. Oh my God, do I love Taskmaster. It's a wonderfully hilarious British show. It's been running they just completed their 14th season last week. 14th series, excuse me. We're going to try our best to stick to British television nomenclature here. So there have been 14 series of Taskmaster. I want to say the first one was in 2016, 2017, something like that. So there have been 14 series, ranging in length from 5 to 10 episodes, depending on where we are in the run and whether it's running on Dave or on BBC Four. They're up to 10 episodes a series now. And for each one of these series, you have a group of 5 comedians or comic personalities, comic actors, who are competing a variety of tasks. Silly things. Have the most fun with these garbage chutes was something from series 14. Several series ago, it was paint the best portrait of the Taskmaster using only your feet. And so for a month or so, these comedians are filmed completing these tasks in isolation. Nobody ever knows how everybody else did. It's one of the beauties of this show. And then once everybody is done with all of the tasks, they come into the studio and they film the studio series. Episode will begin with a prize task where each of the contestants brings in their prize according to the category of that week. The best thing beginning with G, the best thing that's bigger than a cat but smaller than a dog, the most underestimated thing, right? Various categories like that. And they bring in their own personal possessions. The Taskmaster, Greg Davis, evaluates the quality of their prizes and gives the best prize 5 points, the worst prize 1 point, and it's ranked in between. Whoever wins the episode gets to collect the prizes and take them home. Isn't that nice? After the prize task, we have 4 filmed tasks. Usually they're solo tasks. Every once in a while there will be a team task thrown in where the group of 5 comedians has been separated into a group of 3 and a group of 2. Whoever wins the most... after the 4 filmed tasks, you've got a studio task at the end where they're doing something goofy. Estimating the length of various extendable items was one of the studio tasks from this last series. At the end of the series, the person with the, or at the end of the episode, the person with the most points wins the prize haul for that episode. And at the end of the series, the person with the most points wins the grand champion of the series, a nice trophy that is a fairly poor representation of Greg Davis's head, and the honor to come back in every after every fifth series. They have a champion of champions, where the series champions get together and do a short 1 or 2 episode competition among themselves, and it's all very funny. It was created and is written and produced by Alex Horn, who is, I think, one of the best deadpan comics this side of Stephen Wright and Bob Newhart. I mean, he's a brilliant and extremely intelligent comedian. Alex plays the part of Greg's administrative assistant on this show, where he's in charge of actually refereeing the tasks, makes sure that the contestants understand what they're supposed to do, that kind of stuff. And it is hilarious. It is a hilarious show. So we are going to go through the 14 series, and rank them from worst to best. Just keep in mind, when we're talking about Taskmaster, the worst series of Taskmaster is still better than most other television. It's still very, very good. So we've really got, instead of ranked from 1 to 14, we've got 3 tiers: the good, the better, and the oh my god, fantastic. Okay? Before we get into the ranking, let's talk about the subjectivity notice. Just because we're talking about comedy instead of music doesn't mean I'm going to stop whining about subjectivity. All artistic appreciation, and yes, comedy is an art, all artistic appreciation is, by definition, inherently subjective. There is no such thing as objectively good or objectively bad art. There is only art that I like or art that I do not like. And as long as we keep that in mind when we're having a discussion about art, it is a wonderful discussion. It is our ability, limited though it is, focused though it is, to see the world from somebody else's perspective, which is always good. As long as we keep in mind that there's no such thing as objectively good and objectively right. We can talk about what's good and what's bad, but we shouldn't go into it thinking that one of us has to be right and one of us has to be wrong. No, that's not the way art works. And as long as we keep that in mind, it's a fun conversation. Now, like I said, we've got 3 tiers for these Taskmaster series. We've got the good, we've got the better, and we've got the oh my god, this is fantastic. And for the most part, my reactions to these are going to be fairly straightforward, fairly easy to get out there, because it's all based on the contestants themselves. Like I said, we've got, for each of these series, we've got 5 comedians or comic personalities. Sometimes it's they're actors who are known for their comedic roles. Sometimes you got somebody like Richard Osman, and how the hell do you classify Richard Osman, right? But mostly they're comedians. You got the same set of comedians for the entire series, so 5 to 10 episodes of these comedians competing with one another, talking in the studio after the fact about what was going through their minds when they did these things. It's hilarious. It's always funny. And every series has at least one person that will make you bust a gut laughing. I'm going to go, as I go through, I'm going to point out the ones that I think are really good and the ones that I think are lacking. Your candidates for good and lacking will probably be different, but you're still going to have the same reaction. In every series, there's going to be at least one person that is engaging and that keeps you attached to that series. So, starting off, I've got 3 series that I would say are good. These are the ones that, of the 14, I am the least likely to watch a 3rd or 4th time. I have seen all of these at least twice. At least twice. And most of them I have seen multiple times. But the 3 that I'm least likely to, if I'm going to sit down and watch Taskmaster, I want to watch a series of Taskmaster, these are the 3 last series I'm going to choose. Coming in at number 14, we have Series 8. I should like Series 8 more than I do, because Series 8 features Lou Sanders. And I think Lou Sanders is hilarious. Most comedians lack a filter and are willing to do anything they need to do to get a laugh. One of the reasons why I like comedians. But Lou Sanders takes that to a huge extreme. Oh, she is just amazing. I serious respect and admiration for Lou Sanders. The remaining cast members are Ian Sterling, Joe Thomas, Paul Sinha, and Sean Gibson. And this was the cast out of all of the series that I was least familiar with going in. I knew who Lou Sanders was. I didn't really know who the rest of them were. After watching the first episode, I recognized Joe Thomas because I have seen a few episodes of The In-Betweeners because I'm a huge fan of Greg Davis. But I didn't really know any of the other cast members. And that might be part of why it's down here, if I'm being honest. The positives here, we've got Lou Sanders. We've also got Joe Thomas and Sean Gibson, who individually are entertaining throughout the series, but they're also put together for the team. The teams here split out. You've got Ian, Lou, and Paul Sinha in one team, and you've got Joe and Sean on the other team. And that was good because they worked really well together. Paul Sinha's I'm kind of mediocre towards. The big negative for this series, I think, is Ian Sterling. Mostly because every once in a while you get a contestant on Taskmaster who really wants to win it. I mean, usually he really wants to win it. And Ian Sterling really wanted to win it, and as a result came across very often as a dick. So much so that he was visibly, and he even confessed in the studio show to being uncomfortable watching the group tasks because he didn't realize what a dick he was. I'm not saying it's a bad series. They're all good. But it's the one I'm least likely to rewatch. Coming in at number 13. Now this one on paper I should love. Number 13, I've got Series 2. And the second series, the cast is Doc Brown, Joe Wilkinson, John Richardson, Katherine Ryan, and Richard Osman. And I should love this because I am a huge fan of Joe Wilkinson and John Richardson. Oh my God. I first started paying attention to modern British panel comedy and stuff like that during the COVID lockdown. And 8 out of 10 Cats and 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown was pretty much where I started. And Joe Wilkinson and John Richardson are both brilliant on both of those shows. And they are brilliant in this series as well. Richard Osman is also brilliant. He's an extremely funny man. Even though he's not a comedian, he is an extremely funny man. I didn't know much of anything about Doc Brown, and nothing that I saw in Series 2 made me want to learn more about Doc Brown. He's not a disadvantage, but he's not an advantage. He's just kind of there filling out the 5. For me, the problem here is I hate Katherine Ryan. I don't think she's funny. I think she is, in fact, the opposite of funny. She is one of those comedians that I can tell as I listen to her talk that she understands how humor works. She knows how to set up and deliver a punchline. She understands the forms, but she doesn't use them well. She has never done anything that has made me smile, much less laugh. She's more likely to make me cringe or roll my eyes in disgust. So I really, really do not like Katherine Ryan. There have been 14 series of this show. 5 contestants on each series. That means there's 70 contestants. Katherine Ryan is the only one that I absolutely fucking hate. That's a pretty good track record. If we could remove all of the evidence of Katherine Ryan on this series, oh man, it'd be up toward the top. I love the rest of the folks here. And then coming in at number 12, my third good series, is series number 3. This is the series that has Al Murray, Dave Gorman, Paul Chowdhury, Rob Beckett, and Sarah Pascoe. And the problem here, there isn't anybody that I look at and think, okay, that's the person who's dragging it down, although Al Murray comes close. The problem is that nobody really carries the series. Rob Beckett and Sarah Pascoe do fairly well. They're both reliable, good, competent comedians, and I would expect them to do well. And they both have moments of very good humor. Paul Chowdhury, I knew absolutely nothing about. He was entertaining as hell to watch. He either went to like, what the hell? I mean, like, just weird, or weird but hilarious. One of the tasks is to create a snowman without using snow. And the snowman that he comes up with is hilarious, and his discussion is hilarious. That is probably my favorite individual scene out of the whole series. So Paul Chowdhury is good, and he's entertaining to watch. But for the most part, it's just an average workman-like series. There aren't very many high points like Paul Chowdhury's Snowman. So, Series 3 is in at the number 12 spot. Now, for the next 5 series, we are in better land. These are the, hey, I recommend these. Coming in at number 11, again, this one should be higher. This is Series 11, in a nice little coincidence. The cast for Series 11 is Charlotte Ritchie, Jamali Maddox, Lee Mack, Mike Wozniak, and Sarah Kendall. And this should be much higher on my rank, if only because it's got Lee Mack in it. Lee Mack is very probably the most intelligent comedian on the face of the planet. And he's an extremely sharp, extremely quick-witted guy. His ability to just fire off reactions that are just hilarious is amazing. It's truly impressive, and he does very well on this series. Mike Wozniak also really enjoyed watching Mike Wozniak in this. Charlotte Ritchie was entertaining. Jamali Maddox, my comment next to Jamali on my spreadsheet over here is, yeah. For me, the problem here is Sarah Kendall. I don't think that she's like the opposite of funny, the way I do with Katherine Ryan. But I don't find her particularly engaging either. She doesn't repel me, but she doesn't attract me. It's she's just kind of there, creating ballast, and something like this, we don't want too much ballast. It's a very good series, though. Strongly recommended, largely because of Lee Mack and Mike Wozniak. The episode where Mike has an individual task is fantastic. Coming in at number 10, interestingly enough, is Series 10. Series 10, the cast is Daisy Mae Cooper, Johnny Vegas, Catherine Parkinson, Moan Rizwan, and Richard Herring. And coming into this, I was really expecting a lot because I really like Johnny Vegas. Johnny Vegas's comedic persona is chaos, and I was about to say anger, but it's beyond that, right? I mean, he's a force of nature. Richard Herring is a very good intellectual comedian. So you've got the force of nature and you've got the brain. And I was expecting this to just be a train wreck, a glorious train wreck from start to finish. And they are both very good in this. There is one particular task where they've got a series of clues. They're trying to make a phone ring, and they've got a series of clues that are leading them to the phone number that they can dial that will make the phone ring. And it's just heartbreaking watching watching Johnny Vegas do this. Heartbreaking in a hilarious way. I was familiar with Catherine Parkinson because I'm a pretty big fan of the IT Crowd. And she was generally clueless throughout the series, and it was hilarious. Mawan Rizwan I knew absolutely nothing about, and there was nothing in the series that made me want to find anything else about her, about him, excuse me. Daisy May Cooper here is the force that's holding it down. She's very similar to Johnny Vegas. She is a force of nature. And generally I like that, but she was also extremely competitive and not in a particularly entertaining way. So if we could nip her out, Series 10 would rocket up the charts. And then, coming in at number 9, strangely, we have Series 9. Series 9, 10, and 11 coming in at 9, 10, and 11 on my rankings. It's amazing. Series 9, the contestants are David Baddiel, Ed Gamble, Joe Brand, Katie Wicks, and Rose Matafeo. And here, I can boil this one down real quick. The best part of this show, this series, is watching whoever's attached to David Baddiel. So in the team tasks, David Baddiel is teamed with Joe Brand. In the studio tasks, he's teamed with Ed Gamble. And watching them, oh my gosh. I love Joe Brand, and part of Joe Brand's comedy is, as she herself frequently says, can't be fucked, right? Yeah, I know what you want me to do, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just sit here and look at it for a while. And she and David Baddiel in their group tasks are just brilliant together. Whereas the contrast between them just kind of plodding through the task, and Ed Gamble, Katie Wicks, and Rose Matafeo, jumping around like puppies, working on theirs. There's a nice contrast there. So big thumbs up for David Baddiel, Joe Brand, and Ed Gamble. They are all very good. Katie Wicks was largely there. She was also largely not there. There were 2 or 3, maybe 4 episodes of the series where she wasn't in the studio because she was ill when they were taping them. When they're doing the studio shows, they do them 2 episodes at a time, and I'm pretty sure she missed 2 days, so that would have been 4 episodes. And the show didn't suffer because she wasn't there. Rose Matafeo, I think, is an acquired taste that I haven't quite acquired. She's not the dead weight that Daisy May Cooper was, or that Sarah Kendall was, or that Catherine fucking Ryan was. But she's also not particularly engaging my interest as we're going through it. Coming in at number 8, we've got the series that kicked it off, Series 1. The contestants are Frank Skinner, Josh Whitcomb, Roisin Kennedy, Ramesh Ranganathan, and Tim Key. And this is a very good series, except for Tim Key. Tim Key wanted to win. Tim Key was willing to cheat to do it, and that's just, oh, come on. This is all for a laugh. You shouldn't be cheating in an all for a laugh kind of a thing. That's just insight into character that that I probably don't want to have. Watching the other 4 is fantastic. Ramesh Ranganathan is particularly good. Josh Whitcomb is particularly good. This is a good series, except for Tim Key. And then my last of the better series is coming in at number 7. We've got Series 12. The cast for Series 12 is Alan Davis, Desiree Birch, Guz Khan, Morgana Robinson, and Victoria Corin Mitchell. And I came into this expecting Victoria Coren Mitchell to be the dead weight. I'm not a huge fan of Victoria Coren Mitchell. She's an extremely intelligent, extremely sharp person, but her persona, I find it grating after I was about to say after a while, and I'm thinking, yeah, after like 5 minutes. She's usually, if I'm watching a typical panel show, something like, Cats Does Countdown or QI. QI is a better example. If I'm watching one of these shows, if she's one of the if she's one of the guests on the panel, that show's just not going to work as well as the ones around it. And okay, she does fine, and everybody likes her, and I understand why. But the thought of watching her in 10 episodes. And she was actually good in this. Her performance in Series 12 largely changed my perspective of her. And I can tell you the specific instance that did it. There was one of the tasks was to complete a course on a bicycle as slowly as possible. There were several things that you had to do in the thing, and you had to keep the bicycle completely moving, but you were trying to do it as slowly as possible. And when the way the tasks are set up, somebody reads, one of the contestants, or sometimes a montage of all of them, will read the task, and then they talk a little bit about what it's going to be, and then we go to the video of them actually trying to do it. And after she read the task, she looked at Alex and said, "So, Al, is there anything that is very common that you just never really learned how to do?" And she had never learned how to ride a bicycle. And so she had, they all had like 5-10 minutes to prepare for the task, and she used that time to teach herself how to ride a bicycle. Which, I mean, comedy aside, that's just one of the most impressive things I've seen on television. Somebody admitting to a fairly simple level of ignorance and then working to fix it. So, yeah, thumbs up for Victoria Coren Mitchell. This series won me over for her. The thing that's dragging it down for me is Desiree Birch. I don't find Desiree Birch to be particularly engaging. She's not unfunny, right? There's only one that's unfunny, Catherine fucking Ryan. So she's not that. She's just, we could have swapped somebody in for her, and the overall quality of the show would have gone up a couple of notches, I thought. Alan Davis and Guz Khan were both fantastic. Morgana Robinson is just brilliant. It's a very good series. Very good series. Okay, from here on out, I have nothing in the way of negatives. So far, I've been able to point to one person who's pulling it down, or the fact that there's just nobody who's lifted it up, whatever. Here on out, I've got a column in my notes over here that is the con for that series, and none is the entry for all of these. So these are the excellent series. These are the ones that if you do not know this show, and if you're looking to get into it, and if you're looking to experience the joy that is Taskmaster, I'm recommending that you start with these 6 series. Coming in at number 6 is Series 6. The cast for Series 6 is Alice Levine, Asim Chowdhury, Lisa Tarbuck, Russell Howard, and Tim Vine. So coming into this, I knew who Lisa Tarbuck was. I knew who Russell Howard was. I vaguely knew who Asim Chowdhury was. I didn't know Alice Levine or Tim Vine. Tim Vine, as it turns out, is a good old-fashioned establishment comedy, British comedy royalty. And he's okay in this. A lot of what he does is fairly route one, fairly typical. He is so predictable, in fact, that one of the tasks centered on him building a costume out of supplies that he bought at a stationery store. And then everybody else's task was to guess what the pun was at the end when he's demonstrating his costume. Nobody got the pun right, but the fact that Alex Horne turned that into one of the tasks, yeah, he's the kind of he's reliable old school comedy. And sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's not. It's, if you've got a taste for that kind of humor. But the real updrafts here for me are Lisa Tarbuck and Russell Howard. They are both fantastic. There's one task in particular where they are supposed to do the most manly thing possible with this box. It's just a cardboard box. Do something manly with it. And both of their approaches to that task are just fantastic. Excellent series. I love Series 6. Coming in at number 5, we've got the series that just ended last week, Series 14. The contestants for Series 14 are Dara O'Brien, Fern Brady, John Kearns, Munya Chihuahua, and Sarah Milliken. Now, coming into this, obviously I know who Dara O'Brien is. I'm a huge fan of Dara O'Brien's comedy. I enjoy watching him on like Mock the Week and stuff like that, but his stand-up comedy is fantastic. Sarah Milliken, I knew. A fantastic comedian. John Kearns, I knew. I didn't realize that I knew him because I didn't know the name. But as soon as I saw the still of the guy with the wig and the false teeth, that guy, I knew who he was because I'd seen him before. Fern Brady and Munya Chihuahua, I didn't know anything about before the show started. Munya Chihuahua, I still don't really care if I know anything about him. He was entertaining to watch in this series. He went into every task with the ultimate level of confidence that it's possible to imagine. He would read it. Oh yeah, I'm going to knock this out of the park, and he barely he barely scraped by the thing. So that was entertaining to watch. But for the most part, yeah, I'm iffy on Munya Chihuahua. Dara and Sarah, excuse me, were pretty much exactly what I thought they would be, and they were highly entertaining, and I loved watching them. The thing that really impressed me was Fern Brady. I am in the process of tracking down Fern Brady's comedy because she is hilarious. Strongly recommend Series 14. There are no weak spots here. There's nobody dragging this thing down. Fantastic. Coming in at number 4 was the series before the one that just ended, Series 13. The cast for Series 13 is Ardal O'Hanlon, Bridget Christie, Chris Ramsey, Judy Love, and Sophie Duker. Now, going into this, when I first heard about this series, I just saw the names. And it's okay, I'd heard of Bridget Christie, and I'd heard of Judy Love. And I didn't recognize the other three. As soon as I saw the first episode and actually saw their faces, I realized that I knew all 5 of them. I knew Ardal O'Hanlon because I'm a big fan of Father Ted. Oh my gosh. I knew Chris Ramsey because I've seen him crop up on 8 out of 10 Cats and Cats Does Countdown. And I knew Sophie Duker for the same reason. I'd seen her on panel shows. The strengths of this episode are Ardal, Sophie, and Chris Ramsey in a good way. They're the way they think about the tasks, the way they carry out the tasks is very good. It's very fun to watch them do it. They take different approaches and they're all spot on. Bridget Christie is interesting. She flirts. She exists in this borderland between, okay, is she trying to make us think that she's a complete idiot, or is she just a complete idiot? And she's trying to make us think that, but still, she's got an unconventional approach. The closest thing I've got to a negative here is that a little Judy Love goes a pretty long way for me. I can overdose pretty quickly on Judy Love. She's not as overpowering in this series as I was afraid she was going to be. But that's as close as I've got to a criticism here. Overall, it's an excellent series. But if we are talking, ooh, I cannot recommend these highly enough. My top three. Coming in at number 3, we've got Series 4. Series 4 has Hugh Dennis, Joe Lycett, Lolly Adefope, Mel Gedroych, and Noel Fielding. And, okay, so I know who Hugh Dennis is because I've watched my fair share of Mock the Week. I know who Joe Lycett is, and I know who Mel Gedroych and Noel Fielding are because I've watched my fair share of Cats Does Countdown and the Big Fat Quiz. So I know these folks. I didn't know much about Lolly Adefope. And nobody disappoints. This is a very strong series. This is borderline perfect television. I am particularly impressed with Mel Gedroych and Noel Fielding. There's one of the outtakes. If you go to the Taskmaster YouTube channel, you can find outtakes from the series. And one of the outtakes is Mel burping in the studio or in the studio show, and it's hilarious. I love this series. Complete thumbs up. Strong cast, and I've got 3 columns on my notes. The positive, the and the negative, and the and negative are both blank. Coming in at number 2, anything with Bob Mortimer in it is it's going to rate highly with me. So number 2, we've got Series 5. The cast for Series 5 are Aisling Bea, Bob Mortimer, Mark Watson, Nish Kumar, and Sally Phillips. And this is the second best cast that they have managed to arrange. There are no weak links here. These are all 5 stellar comedians, and Bob Mortimer is in a class of his own as far as this kind of thing. Anything that allows him to be creative in his interpretation of the language is going to be just glorious, because I'm a huge fan of Bob Mortimer. Yeah, love this series. There is toward the end, the groups for this series. Group 1 is Aisling, Bob, and Sally Phillips. Group 2 is Mark Watson and Nish Kumar. And the last team task they have, they are introduced to a woman. They're given like 15 minutes to ask her questions to find out about her life, and then they're given an additional, 15 or 30 minutes to write a song about her, and then they have to perform the song. And the songs that they both come up with are just fantastic. The song that Aisling Bea, Bob Mortimer, and Sally Phillips come up with is hilarious, particularly because it's not very complimentary about the subject, and she is sitting there listening to them do it. It's hilarious. But the song that Mark Watson and Nish Kumar come up with is actually just a really nice little song. I mean, fantastic series. I love Series 5. But hands down, my favorite series, the one that I've seen the most times, and the one that if I'm in the mood for Taskmaster, I'm going to gravitate towards, it is Series 7. Series 7, the cast is James Acaster, Jessica Knappett, Carrie Godleman, Phil Wang, Phil Wang's outfit, and Rod Gilbert. And I knew going in that this was going to be a favorite, and it did not disappoint. James Acaster is my favorite comedian. He is, I think, the best comedian, the best pure stand-up comedian working today. And so I knew he was going to be brilliant, and he is. And Rod Gilbert runs him a close second in this thing. Rod is just, again, a force of chaos throughout this. This is highly entertaining stuff. One of the tasks is to poke something or extend something unexpected out of the hole in the roof of this grotto. They're in this. It's got a hole in the roof, and they've got sticks, and they're supposed to put something up through it. And Rod's interpretation of this is insane. It's just insane. There's no way a sane person would think, okay, this is what I'm going to do. If you are not familiar with this series, if you're not familiar with this individual task, go to YouTube, look for, do a search for Rod Gilbert Taskmaster Grotto. Oh my God, it's amazing. Anyway, this is the best cast that they assembled. There are no weaklings. Everybody is strong. It is a fantastic series. And it's where I would recommend you start if you want to experience the joy that is Taskmaster. Series 7 is as good as it gets. And that's how I see Taskmaster. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below. I'd love to talk about this. I can spend the better part of my day talking about Taskmaster. Thank you very much for sticking around. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you'd click the like button. If you are interested in similar discussions, like I said at the beginning, the occasional Wednesday is going to be Comedy Wednesday, and we're going to start talking about comedy the same way we talk about music. And if you want to be along for that ride, then go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you click the subscribe button, go ahead and click the little notification bell as well. I would appreciate that. Again, thank you for watching the video, and I hope the rest of your day is harmonious. See you soon.